はい、こんばんは、こといです。本日はザ・スタンレー・パラボウルトラデラックス遊んでまいります。よろしくお願いいたします。通常版遊んだことがございまして、冬のスチームセールでウルトラデラックス版を購入いたしました。なんか通常版プラス、なんか追加エンディングというか、追加ルートがあるみたいな感じらしいです。なので、まずは、通常版のね、エンディング見た後に、なんか追加のルートを探してみたいなと思います。では早速始めてまいりましょう。よろしくお願いいたします。
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
スキップせず
Stanley
にこの
worked
ま
for
ま
a
流し
company
ま
in a
す。
big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
はい、では操作パート始まりました。画面揺れにご注意くださいませ。私は酔い止め
All
を
of his
飲んで
co-workers
お
were
ります。
gone. What could it mean?
誰もいない
Stanley
ね。
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
感度下げる。待って。これは大事。人がいるはずの会議室じゃない、会社に人がいないという感
When
じ
Stanley
で、
came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
とりあえず最初は、ナレーターの言われた通りに動いていこうと思います。ナレーターの言うこと聞かないのは次回以降ですね。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
はい、会議室にはいないので、ボスを探しに行きましょうかね。同僚はいないなら上司に確認だ。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
はい。フロアが随分いきなりおしゃれになりましたね。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
はい、行きましょう。下かな？エレベーターボロいね。人を乗せるようじゃなさそう。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
この会社に何があるのかをスタンリー君は今調べております。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
怪しげですね、見るからに。書類いいのかな、こんな散らばってて。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
こんな簡単に通れるんだね。セキュリティどうなってんだろうとは思いますが、まあまあ、それはね、こういうゲームですんで、お気になさらず。
Now the monitors jumped to life. Their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
本当だ、スタンリーいないわ。
Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
600番くらいまでしかないから、600人超えそうになったら入れ替えとか発生するのかな。まあ、ファイヤードって書いてあるから、なんか、雇い入れて解雇してを繰り返してるっぽい感じはある。
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
さて、マインドコントロールオフにしたよ。何が起こるのか。驚きの黒さ。
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
終わりか?
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
さてと、美しい風景が広がっておりますので、外に出ましょう。
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
はい、こちらが、通常版と全く同じでしたね。通常版で、ナレーターの言うことを 100% そのまま聞くとこうなりますという感じです。では、いよいよデラックスエディションのどんだけデラックスかを確認する作業に入りたいと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
はい、従業員ラウンジ。
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
嫌だ。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
右って通路あったっけ昔。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off
あ
on
れ
the
あれ
wrong
あれあれ
foot
あれあれ
here.
あれあれ。
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your
これ上行っ
trust
ちゃ
in
うとね、
someone else can be
多分
difficult.
エンディング
But
同
the
じで
fact
すね。
is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten. What? Really?
マ
I
ジ
was
で
in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side.
だって言
Give
う
me
こ
a
と聞かない
chance.
ぞ。
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
嫌だ。
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
No, 嫌です。
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
よし。お、
You
初
see?
見。
There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I'd written out
これがデラックス
specifically
か。
for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design.
通常版より明らかにナレーターがうるさいですね。
There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
入ってみようかな。ちょっと気になるんで。
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
5が多分マックスだよね。評価くれって言ってるから、じゃあ5にしとこうか。
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your
あっ
gut.
ち行きた
I
い。
really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
場外ホームランだって。The Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard。なんだ一体ランキング 91,730 ドアオープンドとか書いてある。実績かなThis is you ドベだってひどいな。コレクト正しいドアにたどり着くのに何時間かかったか。私は遅いということは言うこと聞いてないということですね。はい。いいじゃん、いいじゃん。言うこと聞かないでいくよ。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
新しいゲーム
Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right. And if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the
いや、赤ちゃん
desperation
こ
and
んな日
tedium
の
of
中飛び込まない
endlessly
でしょ、日常
confronting
で。
the demands of
ど
family
んな家庭
life.
生活送って
I
んねん。
think the art world will really take
アートじゃなく
notice.
てもざわつ
But
く
of
わ。
course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure
4
to
時
keep
間
notes
ゲー
on
ム
your
したくないな、これ。
experience.
あ、うるさいうるさいうるさい。もうごめん、赤ちゃん。助けてあげられなくてごめん。うるさい。
You heartless
声
bastard.
怖っ。
Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
どっちかって
Because
ナ
if
レータ
it's
ー
the
が嫌い
latter,
か
well,
な。
I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience
申し
for
訳
me.
程度に葉っぱがあ
I'm
る。
not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
赤ちゃんなくなっちゃった。
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
何？おう。
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley?
なんかファ
What's
イヤーウォ
our
ッチっぽい。
backstory? What is our motivation?
綺麗。
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up
下タワ
high in
ーか
your
ら
creep
罪のない
tower,
市民を
perhaps
偵
for
察
some
してる。そ
sort
れは
of
キモいな。
twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity.
もしかして
So
この
far,
後ろ
I
のお
love
じさんが僕
everything
のこ
about
の
this
キモい
game,
おじさんなの
Stanley.
かな。
And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
暖炉の上にプラスチック容器置かない方がいいよ。溶けるよ。あ、閉められない。いいじゃん。いいゲーム用意してるね。すごい、これはデラックスやわ。
Oh no. No, 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 it can't
こ
be.
れは無理って何？標識があるよ。
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
え
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing.
あれのって何？
Big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided
大丈
it.
夫？なんか言っちゃいけないこと言っちゃった？
Woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls.
別にここ
Something
でいい
with
よ。
nice, big, insurmountable walls.
ここでいいよ。ああ、壁作られちゃっ
I
た。
think this will be just the thing.
歩かせてよ。
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
なんとかして迷子になれって言われたからちょっと迷子になってくるね。
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball?
どう見てもスポーツゲームでしょう
I
よ。
think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown
い
together.
や、タッチダウンじゃなくて
Yeah,
普通にサッ
I
カーで
think
しょ。
surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
ボールだ。ボールが来る前に僕は逃げなきゃ。あ、降りれた。イエーイ。
Hold on. What are you doing?
よしよしよしよしよしよし。
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
おー、すごい。
story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
落ちた。開かない。この音がキーボードってことは間違いなく現実じゃないんだろうなというのは思いますね。さてと、どこに行けば何があるのかな？ 424、427はスタンリーの部屋はどちらかしら？あった。なんもないね。あ、あれ？
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is
もうちょ
right
っと探
now.
検させてくれても
I
よく
wonder
な
if
い？
he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion.
ナレー
That's
タ
who
ー
I
ずい
am.
ぶん自信があ
That
る
is
な。
what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
え。真っ暗になっちゃった。あ、帰ってきた。はい。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it
Time up.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
同じだね。あ、ニューコンテントってある。言っていい？
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
なんだ？ロード。なんだよ、このジェットコースターとかなんかディズニーのイベント、なんか作品紹介みたいな。
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra
もう
Deluxe.
すごくディズニー感がす
As
ごい。
you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a
Ultra
reimagining
Deluxe.
of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
見たい見たい。行こうか。
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but
Hold on,
I'm sure it's
なんもないね。
just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
何があるんだろう。ん？もしもーし。
Is it
Hello?
broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh,
Oh.
there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
なんか言うこと聞かなきゃ普段怒るくせに今日は言うこと聞かなくていいんだ。
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
よし、行くぞ。倉庫だ。
All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle?
え、マジでこれ34回すんの？え？ 2、1、終わり。え？名前出てこないじゃん。詐欺名。
Is that it? Surely that's
あれ
not
は
all
それ
the
な
new
のってい
content.
い翻
There
訳で
has
す
to be
ね。
something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good.
いいじゃない。
I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it
オフィス
is.
だ。 Thank you for enjoy the new content.
That's
終わり
it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when
翻訳結
greedy
構気性
video
荒い
game
な。
developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them
怖い
personally
怖い怖い
accountable.
怖い。
It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations.
Oh,
If you're still
しゃがめる。
with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about? No frills,
ジャンプは
no
できない。
gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
隠れてみよう。あ、ロードされた。ええいきなり知らない廊下入った。え
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show
こ
you
っちも行き
something!
たい。まあいいや、これ言うこと聞いてあげよう。初見だし。見たことないから気になるな。落ちた。
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
戻れるけど、ちょっと戻るのもったいないな。行こう。
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
見た瞬間ミッドサマーっぽいと思ってごめんね。お邪魔します。
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
古き良き通常版っていうか初回っていうか初版というかの記録があるね。Go outside. ああ、このエンディングプレイしたことありますね。よいしょ。いいとこやん。
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
1時間もなかったよ。オリジナル。
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
あ、いた。
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
コールドドリンク。急にやばそうなとこ来たよ。
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection
なん
of
で若干
reviews
翻訳
from
がちょっとおねっぽい
Steam,
の？
the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
まあ、Steam レビューは結構辛辣なのもあるから。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny!
でも3時間も遊んだってことは
I'm trying to make a serious work of art.
楽しんでくれたんじゃないか
I suppose I
ね。
could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
ナレーターの話をね、半分聞いてないですね、もはやね。お、またなんかネガティブレビュー
Okay,
が。
let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets
Very
annoying
repetitive
fast.
and boring.
Preachy?
わかる。
Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You
熱
can
狂
tell
臭
me
い
if
っていう
I'm
か、
preachy.
たまにちょっ
Honestly,
と
you
うるさいよ
can.
ね。
Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with.
いや、不愛
You
想で
can't
はな
know
い
how
よ。
much
十分うるさ
fluff
い
I
よ。
cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track
汚
record.
点。
I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Not
What's this one
recommended.
got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then
たまにう
then
るさい
maybe
よね、
letting you
今と
skip
かね。
ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto
いや、
today,
肯定
and it's
的なレビュー
always
だ
been
けじゃ
my
世の中やっていけないっ
motto.
すよ。
I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
おー。
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourish.
うるさい。
Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30,
そんなに
45
スキップし
minutes.
てんだ。へ
It's
ー。
not unendurable by any means, but
耐えられる？
it's,
じゃあ
well,
OK、
there's
もう
really
一
only
回。
so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know.
はいはい。
Stanley! Stanley!
Nani?
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
へー。
You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly
スキ
getting
ップっ
longer.
て
And
思
my
考
God,
停
there's
止とい
no
うか
way
脳
out
みそ
of
停
the
止してる
room.
だけなんか突っ立って
Stanley,
る
the
ってこ
door
と
is
は。
gone. It's completely
あ、
gone.
本当だ。
I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those
あ、
walls.
そう、はい。
Oh, Stanley, you're
あー、
back.
木枯れて
You're
る。
back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time.
そっか、
Just
大変だ
sitting.
ね。あれ？あ、ボタンあった。
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you,
さらに
and
枝が
about
落ちて
us,
る。
and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place
お
and
ー、
not
1年なん
moved
だ。
for
じゃあ
one
次は10
entire
年かな。
year?
あんまないよ。ナレーター死んだ？ 何の音だ？あ、これか。よし。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us.
関係ないこと喋ってそう。あ。またいなくなっちゃったナレーター。なんか別の軸行ったり来たりしてる？
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
病んでる病んでる病んでる病んでる。
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end,
ピチョンピチョン言ってる。
is never the end, is never the end.
うるさい。あ、雨漏りかな？老朽化してんだ。何年経ってんだろうね。あー、天井壊れてる。出られないね。あ、光が入ってる。空調止まったね。緑が急に爽やかな雰囲気になったよ。よし。え、砂。木々さえも終わった。音怖っ。え？何の音？怖っ。え？なんか斜めってる。外に出れるの？あ、外に出れる。後ろにあえて歩いていこうか。どこまで歩いていけるんだろう。お。帰ってきた。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
なかったことにされた。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ああ、また増えてる。行く。
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
なんだろう。ナレーターが用意したってことはさっきと違うのかな？同じ展開だよ。
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that
すごい。
legacy.
自分のゲーム
So
で
forget this
歴史
Ultra
的って
Deluxe
書いちゃうのはす
nonsense.
ごいな。
I say we take it one step even further.
え？
Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
へー。2。わお。
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
おしゃれだ。
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley
おしゃれ。
Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and
中
innovation
華
and
長
long-term
期的フランチャイ
franchising
ズのポテンシャルって
potential.
一体何？
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts,
ショーフロア
that
ってある
surely
よ、
the
ショー
game
フロ
will
ア。
sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
何があんの？おー。
Here we
Wow.
are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
リアシュアランスバケツってなんだろう？これが2なの？
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the
ナレーター
Stanley
は開発エンジニアな
Parable
の？
Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's
お、バ
true.
ケツだ。
As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest,
今スキップ
it's
し
a
たい。
much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the
今不安だから
perfect
今バケツが
solution.
必要だよ。
Come on, give it a try.
え？
Can you feel it?
何
The
を？
glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair,
ここから出して。
must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
つらい。2失敗
Does
作だ
anyone
よ。
give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
何？
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
セッティングワールドチャンピオン無限な穴フリー実績。開かない。バケツうるさいな。
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it
無限だっ
wonderful?
て。
One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
無限ならこのまま放置してみようか。
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
やだ。
Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of
Yada.
things.
なんか怪しいからこのまま行こうぜ。
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the
嘘ついたの？
hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be
深い
certain,
穴だね。
it's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity.
Eh?
From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a...
あれ？
Okay, well, good for you. You found the
Usotsuki.
bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so
今
clever.
G 押しても戻れない。
Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there.
ポー
I
ズ
think
ボ
we
タンは
both
ロー
said
マンニュ
some
メラル
things we
2。
didn't mean. Why don't we just put
あ、
all
一時停
this
止できない。
behind
嘘
us
つ
and
き。
agree to just call the hole
めっちゃタバコ吸っとるやん、これ。
infinite?
やだ。
If that works for you,
片付けなよ。
then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
はい。あとはニューアチーブメントだったっけ？プレイニューラスイージーアチーブメントってあるよ。よし。Get it here。実績くれるのか。レバーをGet
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's a simple... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
しょうもない政治家みたいなこと言いやがって。今んとこパラボー2は失敗しそうだけど大丈夫かな？
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
これかな？コレクトゼムオール。実績、収集実績系かな？
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all
報
of
酬
them.
ないの？実
I
績とかちょう
don't
だい
want
よ。
to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
ああ、6分の1だ。帰ってきた。
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy
もう見たかな、
reward
大
for
体。
it. Absolutely tragic.
うん。
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
見た見た。デザインはおしゃれなんだけどな。ニューマグ。No screenshots.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
今んとこ
Yes,
微
I
妙
know
だな。
it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a
なんかデモンスト
meaningful
レーションしてくれん
gameplay
の？
experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
残りジャンプあるやん、まだ。
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of...
まあ、
Okay,
色合い
never
は好
mind.
きだけど。
Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes. Yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
え
Who am I kidding, Stanley?
なんつ
This
ってなっ
isn't a
て。
coherent
翻
video
訳
game
面
at
白い
all.
な。
It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything.
え
I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it, no matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features in it. Of course, with respect, with care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could, but it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
おー、赤いホラーかな。いいね。よし、ちょっと時間長くなってきたので一旦ここまでにして、うねうねするの気持ち悪いからやめてほしいな。続きスタンリーパラボ2的なのはちょっと次回やりたいと思います。まだまだちょっと見れるものがありそうでテンション高いですが、とりあえずウルパラボ2の展示会はいまいちでしたね。では本当に2のゲームがいまいちかどうかを次回試していきたいと思います。お付き合いいただきましてどうもありがとうございました。また次回もよろしくお願いいたします。待ってろスタンリー。バイバーイ。